20 seconds to go. One last gasp for Edmonton. Bouchard's pass didn't click with Draisaitl. 12 seconds to go. Florida trying to end it up against the wall, which would be fitting. 3 seconds to go. The Florida Panthers have won the Stanley Cup. For the first time in their 30-year history, the Florida Panthers are Stanley Cup champions. They made it about as hard on themselves as they possibly could, battling a valiant Edmonton team that had rallied from adversity all season long. And Paul Maurice, coaching lifer, 30 years in the National Hockey League, has his Stanley Cup.
The puck is going on.
This is What the Puck is Going On for St. Patrick's Day, March the 17th, 2025. I am Stephen Murray. We may or may not get Nephew Dave in his Norfolk studio tonight. He's running back from a job, so we'll let him be if that's the case. But in any case, tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will have Bet to the Future on our network. And we will have a primary focus on March Madness, and then we'll kind of try to parlay that into a few other things with the NHL playoffs coming up. NBA playoffs are now on the horizon as well. We have the Masters, any number of springtime events. We have to, just when you think football's all said and done and you have nothing left to live for in the sports world, you get bombarded with it all. I mean, here we are with March Madness now. We have plenty of golf that's been exciting. A playoff today, Rich Worry, a good Irishman, which that should have told you, bet the Irishman on St. Patrick's Day weekend to win that golf tournament. I didn't even think about that. NASCAR racing, which has been very, very good and fun to watch as well, and profitable. And, of course, like I said, NHL and NBA playoffs, which will take us through a couple of months at least anyway. And by the time that's all said and done, we'll have a little bit of the doldrums of baseball going on, and then we will crank up NFL training camp. And next thing you know, we're back on Sunday mornings doing the round robin, talking NFL bets. So it will go by fast. Already 3.5 or 2.5 months into this 2025 campaign, and it doesn't feel like it's springtime outside yet. Still going to be cold this evening here at our Chicks Beach studios, where the Deep End Broadcasting Network does its programming from. 40 degrees for a low tonight, so not quite spring yet. And hopefully we just don't get cold weather and rain, and the next thing we know it's 90 degrees and humid. It'd be nice to have a lot of 70s in the mix for the next 6 weeks or so. Okay, so I think we have a 5-game slate in the NHL tonight. Is that correct? Let me pull up the games. I know we have a couple of interesting ones for sure when I was looking at it. Let's fast forward here on my list to St. Patrick's Day. And usually the Monday night slate is pretty weak. I would say this is busy for a 5-game slate. We have the Sabres and the Bruins, the Flyers and the Lightning, Devils and Blue Jackets, Flames and Maple Leafs, Kings and Wild. Pretty much every game has playoff implications of some sort as Boston tries to hang in there even after all the trades that they've made. We'll see if they can get on home. let's take a look at the standings and just see how everyone sits after the weekend full of exciting NHL hockey. Florida Panthers still on top of Tampa Bay and Toronto. But look at this, Tampa Bay with their 6-3-1 record in the last 10 now have tied Toronto. And they actually have let's see, what do they have? Winning percentage differential. They have a goal scoring differential of a plus 55. All right, so that's going to be the difference between them right now. Toronto has a plus 13, so that is a 42 goal differential. Toronto Maple Leafs have lost now 2 in a row. We actually went against them the other night with Montreal. Wow, Montreal gets one more. If Montreal gets that empty netter against Toronto the other night, we were going to have a fantastic NHL weekend. And there are a lot of blowouts. So if you took all the favorites on the puck line on Saturday, you did very, very well for yourself, if that's the case. So Florida with that 4-point lead, holding steady. We're down to depends who you are, 14 to 16 games left. Teams like the Sabres have 17 games. They'll make one of those up tonight in Boston. But Florida with that 4-point lead hanging on in the Atlantic. In the Metro, 10-point lead still for the Capitals. So even though Carolina has won 7 in a row, Capitals 6-4, not playing bad, but not playing super terrible either. They've had a couple duds in there, losing 3-0 to the Kings last Thursday night. And then also stumbling at home before that just a little bit. But they still have the 10-point lead over Carolina. You would think that they're still going to be able to hold on to that as the season comes to an end. Each of those teams have 15 games left. The Devils, 78 points for them. Rangers with 72 now. Columbus, my Blue Jackets now have lost 3 in a row. And didn't do me and Nephew Dave any favors on Saturday. Candidates for the penalty box actually are Columbus. That was the one team that did not get home with their goal total that we needed. And for that, they've now fallen back. Let's take a look at this with the Eastern Conference as far as the playoff standings go. Washington right now would be 1. Carolina would be 2. Florida would be 3. Tampa Bay would be 4. Toronto would be the 5th. Devils would be the 6th. The Senators would be the 7th. And look at this. The Rangers now in control of that final spot. 4-4-2 in their last 10 is good enough to get them to that 8th spot now with 72 points overall. But it is a narrow margin over everybody else. Montreal has 71 points. They're the team on the outside looking in. Columbus now with 70 on the outside looking in. Detroit with 70. Man, Detroit 3-7 in their last 10. Only if they could get hot a little bit. The Islanders 68. They did win their last game out. The Islanders with 68 still alive. Bruins with 68 points still alive. Pittsburgh 66 points. Winners of 4 in a row now. Still alive. Could the Penguins somehow steal it in the last second here? The Flyers can't quite write them off yet, although they've been playing terrible. 3-6-1. And their last 10, they have 64 points. And you got to believe that has been it for Buffalo, 58 points for them. And they will be at Boston this evening. Huge game for the Bruins in terms of trying to make up ground because most of these teams are not in action. Now, they have extra games, it looks like. They're going to have only 13 games remaining after tonight. Everyone else will have a couple of games in hand. But this is you cannot waste these opportunities at this point if you are the Bruins. You need this win tonight. This would catapult you to a tie with Columbus and Detroit, 2 points out behind the Rangers if they can beat the Sabres this evening. All right, in the Western Conference, let's take a look how things have developed there over the weekend. Winnipeg, again, is hot, 6-3-1 in their last 10. They've won 3 in a row. Dallas has now lost a couple in a row. after being red hot. So the Jets have increased their lead in that division now to 11 points. Look at that. Colorado creeping up on Dallas. They beat them yesterday in Denver. So 85 points now for the Avalanche. Minnesota with 79. They've lost a couple in a row. And a dead under team at this point is Minnesota. They'll play the Kings tonight. Another dead under team. I mean, is that a 1-0 Kings correct score? I mean, it could be. We'll have to take a look at those odds when we get to it. St. Louis, red hot. Winners of 2 in a row. 7-2-1 in their last 10. They have 73 points. Utah, red hot as well. 6-2-2. So these teams trying to make a push to get into the playoffs as well. In the Pacific, Vegas, 86 points for them. But they've lost 2 in a row now. And Edmonton and the Kings are closing in. Edmonton now with 82 points, just 4 back of the Golden Knights. The Kings with 81, 5 points back. And then we have everybody else who's been right around 500 for the most part or worse. Vancouver, Calgary, Anaheim, Seattle, San Jose is the only team who's been eliminated from playoff contention so far. So they are done for the season in terms of trying to make the playoffs are the Sharks. But, you got to say that's pretty impressive. We are not quite on 70 games yet, but with just about a dozen games left to play, you have everyone technically alive except for San Jose. So a very competitive NHL season, to say the least. And the other thing we noted last week when we were talking about a lot of these teams being over-unders against the spread, the dead under teams and the few teams that are dead over teams. Maybe we can take a look at that again. But we have not had a ton of points at all as far as goals go, as far as like scoring goes. We haven't had these 6-4 games, 7-5, just these wonky, lopsided scores to get over 8.5, 9.5 goals on your alternative goal prop. Know that there's been a lot of lower scoring games for the most part in the NHL. Teams to the over-under, let's take a look at that real quick. The Ducks are 25 games over, 40 under, 2 with a push. So that's how I'll say it. The first number will be the over. The second number will be how many times they've gone under. And the third will be the push. Blue Jackets, 38-27-1. So they've been an over team. Golden Knights, 30-35-2. They've been an under team. The Blues, 30-34-4. They've been under. Lightning, 29-33-4. They've been under. Penguins, 36-32-1. They've been pretty much a dead over team, mostly for the first part of the season. That has leveled off. The Jets, 29-36-3, so very much an under team for them. The Sabres, 38-20-5, so they are your biggest over team in the NHL. They have the most goals, 16-11-3 on the road for the over for them. And let's see, they'll get the Bruins tonight, right? So the Bruins are, let's see, the Bruins are right about 500, correct? Yeah, 33-34-1 to the over. At home, they are 16-19-1. All right, so yeah, I mean the Sabres have done it mainly themselves. Maybe the Sabres team goals is a good angle for this evening. Let's see, the Kings 25-37-3. They're a dead under team. The Flames 25-38-2. They are a dead under team. The Stars 27-35-4. Dead under team. Hurricanes 27-35-5. Very much an under team. Utah 26-37-4. Very much an under team. The Avalanche 35-32-1. That's an over team. The Rangers 30-37-1. So they're an under team. Ottawa 27-33-6. They're an under team. The Devils 25-39-2. Pretty much an under team for them. And the Predators 27-38-1, an under team. And you wouldn't think so, but the Oilers an under team, 29, 35, and 3. So that is a lot of under teams in the NHL. So if you've been betting overs, you've probably been getting scorched for the most part. And don't think that's really going to change at this point. Maybe with some of these teams like San Jose checking out, maybe we'll get a few more goals once they get some AHL players involved in the mix. All right, let's take a look at some injuries if I can pull that up. Let's take a look at the injured list. See what we have for that. I've had my eye on hockey a decent amount over the weekend, but I am out of the loop of injuries here. Anaheim, they're starting to fill up their injury list. John Gibson, he's always on that list, I feel like. Charlie McAvoy for the Bruins. Maybe they'll get him back mid-April. Buffalo missing a trio of players. Calgary as well. Backlund is he should be back by the end of March. Carolina definitely has some key players on the injured list. Dmitry Orlov, Sheknikov for the Hurricanes as well. William Carrier as well. Colorado, as healthy as they've been all season, really. If they can just get back Gabriel Landeskog, they're missing him. Josh Manson as well. Columbus, now they're dealing with some injuries now, so you got to be careful with them. Elvis Merzlikins, the goalie, for them, personal reasons, he will be out this evening. So the Blue Jackets are up against it, missing their starting goalie this evening. Jake Christensen is another player. Half dozen injuries or so for them. Miro Hiskinen for the Stars. Nils Lundqvist, Tyler Seguin, all out for the Stars. Lundqvist is done for the season. Detroit, Jeff Petrie, they should get him back here by the beginning of April. Edmonton, injuries are starting to mount up for them. Klingberg, Hyman, Ekholm, all day today for them. Maybe we get Evander Kane back before the playoffs. Brad Marchand, a couple of weeks for him still. Matthew Tkachuk, we should get him back for the playoffs for Florida. Dmitry Kulikov is day-to-day for them. Kaprizov for Minnesota, still on the injured list for them with a couple of other players. Montreal, missing a trio of guys. Nashville, missing a trio of players. Jersey, the big one for them. Jack Hughes, done for the season. Varlamov, Barzell, Pelech, all hurt for the Islanders. Boquist, 2. So 4 injuries for them. The Rangers are healthy, even after all the trades now, too. They're settling. It's amazing how these teams can make trades like the Penguins, the Rangers, and start coming up with victory after victory. Ottawa, a couple of players for them on the injured list. Florida has a trio of players. Pittsburgh, a trio of players. San Jose, a trio of players. Relatively healthy. St. Louis, Toronto, Utah, Vancouver, just a trio of players. But they're missing Philip Cheadle, Thatcher Demko amongst the key players for them. William Karlsson would be a nice addition to get back for Vegas when he gets done with his lower body injury. 4 players on the injured list for them. And now the injuries for the Capitals mounting up. Maybe the flu going through the team. Dylan Strome, illness. Ethan Frank, illness. And still missing Sonny Milano, of course. And then the Winnipeg Jets are healthy. All right. So Merzlikins appears to be the big one for Columbus. And Dallas still with their star players. You got to keep that in mind, although they don't seem to miss a beat. Carolina with some star players, but they don't seem to really miss a beat either. All right. Let's take a look at the slate for the evening and see what we have. Let me log in for the lines here. Let's get some fresh lines out here. Give me old bonuses here. Okay, yeah. All right. It's amazing how the website is different from the app in all kinds of regards. All right. NHL slate for this evening. We have 3 games facing off at 7:10 Eastern. We have one at 7:40 and then one at 8:10. So no late night action. You can get everything done early on this evening. We do have the Flyers in Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is minus 310, over under 5.5. The Flyers look dreadful. They really do. The Bruins the Lightning looked really good at the Bruins over the weekend, Saturday night. I don't know how you don't take Tampa Bay here, at least with their team goals. They should be able to get 4 goals here at home. Let's see here. Tampa Bay total goals over 3.5 is at minus 124. And is Kucherov okay now? Let me double check that because I did not see him on the injured list, but I don't want to overlook that either. Yeah, Tampa Bay fully healthy. No one listed on the injury report. Look at that. So Nikita Kucherov, good to go for them. Over 3.5 minus 124 looks like the play to me. I don't know how the Flyers keep the puck out of the net here. They are definitely trending the wrong way. They give up a ton of goals as it is. Tampa Bay has as good of a home ice advantage as anybody. I mean, this has to be the lock of the night. You can lay minus 1.5 at minus 115 if you want more of a straight bet. I think that's fine as well. On the 60-minute line with Tampa Bay is minus 190. I would just go lay to 1.5 if you think you just want to get some sort of straight action. You don't want to risk the minus 310 or the 60-minute line. This is really a game in which the Lightning can name their score and have a lot of success this evening. So Tampa Bay Lightning, for me, over 3.5 goals would be the play there. I'm sure Nephew Dave would pretty much agree with that. I don't think there's any balking against that at all. The Flyers have just been bad. It's concerning times for Columbus, and the Devils are on the road here. The Devils shown a little bit signs of life, have they here? Let's take a look at the Devil splits here. 5-5 in their last 10, correct? Yeah, 5-5 in their last 10. They lost one in a row. They were on a little bit of a hotter streak before that, after a cold spell. But they have been consistently inconsistent. New Jersey. Columbus just can't seem to find the back of the net. They're having problems keeping the puck out of the net. I don't know how this is a good recipe tonight to win. Jake Allen is your goalie for the Devils. Jet Greaves is your goalie for the Blue Jackets. We'll see how Greaves does. New Jersey kind of is sputtering. They are a grinded out team. So when a team that is finding it difficult to score like Columbus is having a hard time getting goals, I mean, this really isn't the kind of team you want to play New Jersey, even if you are at home. New Jersey is just very, very stingy themselves. So I think this is a no play at the end of the day here. We'd like to see the Blue Jackets get the ship right. Who knows? They could be heading south for the winter at this point. After what's been a season full of, let's say aspiration maybe, after losing the Goudreau brothers, having their parents in the crowd a lot, just a lot of emotions around the Blue Jackets. And you figured that they would be able to ride that wave. But that wave has come crashing down a little bit here as of late. Can they hold it together and not fall apart? I hope they can regroup for one more stint here because we do have some decent numbers on Columbus in the futures. But we'll pass on them tonight just because they are a candidate for the penalty box. And the Devils are a team that when you're trying to get a win, it's not like the Devils are the easiest one to get a win against. So avoid that, I think, is the best call. We do have the Sabres and the Bruins, and we talked about how Buffalo has been a very high-scoring team. In fact, Buffalo is the favorite on the road here. How about that? The worst team in the conference is a favorite over Boston, minus 114 for the Sabres. Really doesn't make sense at all at the end of the day, but that's why you probably take it. Luukkonen, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen is the goalie for the Sabres, and we have Korpisalo, the goalie for the Bruins here this evening. You know what? I would just trend with the Sabres are an over team, so 5.5. I mean, you're getting a cheap number on them. You've got to figure the Bruins can get at least 1 or 2 at home. So I would at least lean with the over in this game, over 5.5. This might be one we can get some goals at and finally get some kind of wild score like 5-3, something of that nature. The Sabres on their team goals is over 3.5 plus 140. That's a lot. The Bruins over 2.5 minus 168 is maybe a tougher sled than that. I would just worry about the straight over. I think 5.5, I think would be the best call for this game overall. Calgary and Toronto, another interesting game here. Calgary was kind of hot, but now they've cooled down a little bit. And Toronto is coming off a bad loss at home to Montreal. So we'll see if they can rebound. The Maple Leafs are minus 200. Over-under is 5.5 in this game. Calgary, again, is another stingy team that just doesn't allow you to get a lot of goals on them. Another one of those under teams that we talked about earlier. Let's see here. They've only scored 169 as well. You got to figure this is Toronto. Toronto has to be rebound after that loss to Montreal. 20-13-1 for them at home as well. They've lost 2 in a row, on the skids a little bit. You got to think they're going to get right. Do you want to play minus $2 for them, though? Probably not. Do you want them to go minus 1.5? Probably not. So I think the best way to play this is just to try to win it in regulation at minus 125. That's fair enough. That's not super juiced. So I would look at the 60-minute money line there with Toronto. As far as goals scored, I would lean this to be an under game. Not really looking to take Calgary. Calgary is over 2.5, minus 106. If I had to, that would be the one, I think. Toronto over 3.5 plus 104. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I could see this being a 4-2 game maybe. But I think your best play probably is just the Toronto 60-minute line. So if we go ahead and plug that in, and then we'll go ahead and plug in the other ones that we talked about as well, right? Over in the Sabres game, and then we'll take the minus 1.5 with Toronto. We're not quite getting 5-1 since these are all juiced to be favorite kind of plays. But this doesn't look half bad for a parlay right now. Toronto, 60-minute line, the over 5.5 in the Sabres game, and then the Tampa Bay minus 1.5, minus 115. And then our final game on the board is the Kings and the Wild. 2 dead under teams. Minnesota never scores a lot. I would lean with the under for sure on this game. Under 5.5 is minus 148. But I would have a little bit more fun with this if you really, really want to get involved in this game. The Kings to win 1-0 is 50-1, and the Kings to win 2-0 is 37-1. The Kings to win 2-1 is 12-1. So I would take all 3 of those. I would take the Kings to win 2-1 at 12-1. I would take the Kings 2-0 at 37-1, and I would take the Kings to win 1-0 at 50-1, and hope that hits. They are the better team than Minnesota at the end of the day. Could Minnesota win this game 1-0? Yeah, sure. They probably could, right? That's 55-1. Minnesota to win 2-0 is 60-1. Minnesota to win 2-1 is 16-1. Really, you can take all 6 of those, and if you lose, you lose. Just put $5 on each one. But man, you're bound to hit one of them, and that will pay for all the other losing tickets. So, $5 to win 60-1 on Minnesota, 2-0 gets you 300, and then minus 25 on your losers. You're going to end up a plus 275 profit on the evening. Even on the 2-1 games, you'll still make out not like a bandit per se, but you'll clear $140 or so. Once both teams get that to 2, you're doomed. But you know what I would do in that case? I would just back it up with the over 5.5 and hope you get lucky. A little insurance policy, right? Throw $20 on that or something. The Minnesota team goals over 2.5 plus 102. The Kings over 2.5 is at minus 160. No play at the end of the day for me, but I would take a look at some of those correct scores. I would not be shocked if this is 1-0, 2-0, or 2-1 either way. This game has that written all over it. All right. So that is it for the slate for this evening. Tomorrow night's games. Let's take a quick look at those. And then we have a good full slate on Thursday. Look at this. We'll be on Thursday night as well for the March Madness. I might have to record that in the morning. But the Thursday slate at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 games on Thursday. Wow. Look at that. 2 games on Wednesday with Colorado at Toronto, Seattle at Minnesota. And then the slate of good games tomorrow night. Meaningful games will be Ottawa at Montreal, Calgary at the Rangers, Islanders at the Penguins, Detroit at Washington. Everything has meaning. St. Louis at Nashville. Anaheim is at Dallas. Seattle is at Chicago. That is a meaningless game. Utah at Edmonton, and Winnipeg is at Vancouver. All right. And let's see, 4 of those games slated to drop the puck at 7 p.m. tomorrow. So good early action. 4 games at 8 and 8:30. Good early action tomorrow night as well. All right. So our key plays tonight, again, we'll take a look at the over in the Boston and Buffalo game. We will take Tampa Bay minus 1.5 over the lowly Flyers. And we will take Toronto on the 60-minute line against Calgary. And correct score either way in the Kings-Minnesota game, 1-0, 2-0, or 2-1. Just play all 6, and you're bound to come out with a profit either way. All right. You want to throw a team into the penalty box here? Let's go ahead and do that. I'll queue up our referees, and I already mentioned them going in there, and we'll throw them in again tonight. You got to just beware.
Switch 7 guys. Mike, come on.
You can't do that. Dallas probably number 10, 2 minutes broken.
82, Tampa, tripping.
And that's the Blue Jackets. Again, the goalie's now hurt. You're not able to score. Very frustrating when that net seems to have a cement wall in front of it. And that's the case for the Blue Jackets now. They need to have a breakthrough game of some sort. Probably won't happen against the stingy New Jersey Devils team tonight. I hope so for the future's standpoint, but we'll need to stay away from Columbus at least for this evening, and we'll go ahead and throw them into the penalty box. Goal scorers. Can we come up with some goal scorers for this evening? Sure, we can. We'll avoid the Minnesota game. We know that's going to be low scoring. We'll take a Maple Leaf. Why not? I've been on John Tavares. He's been doing well for me. Last week on Monday night, I went ahead. Was it Monday or Thursday? I think Thursday I took him and he scored a goal. So let's go right back to it. John Tavares plus 210 for a goal for Toronto. I think I've taken him twice now this season, and he's come through with shining colors both times. Let's take the Lone Rangers for the Bruins. If we think this is going to be a higher scoring game, then David Pastrnak, I think, definitely gets involved here. So we'll add him to the list. Pastrnak, even money, plus 100 to get a goal. If we parlay that with Tavares at plus 210, then we're looking at plus 520. And then we'll take a Tampa Bay Lightning player as well. Well, plenty to choose from. Anthony Cirelli, Gensel, Braden Point. But let's welcome Nikita Kucherov back to the mix for us. Plus 145 for him to score a goal, and all that is at a nice 14-1. A little bit more. $100 wins you $1,419 if you have goals by Tavares, Pastrnak, and Kucherov this evening. All right. Anything we want to look at for the futures? Let's see here. And again, we'll do a Bet to the Future show tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern, March Madness special. Here are my Blue Jackets. I was frustrated. They dropped all the way down to 50-1. Here they are at 130-1 now to win the Eastern Conference. So I'll continue to monitor that. If they get red hot again, I'm going to have to jump back on this Columbus bandwagon. The Rangers 24-1 to win the East. All right, so they have that last playoff spot now. Man, you feel like you're just getting cheated on some of these. The Capitals are 5-1. All the good numbers gone on them. Maple Leafs 7-1. The Senators are 20-1. Very feisty team, Ottawa. I mean, they are built with that defense to kind of make a run. So 20-1 might be an interesting number right now for Ottawa on that side of things. Florida plus 195 doesn't interest me. Carolina plus 440 doesn't interest me either as well. Dallas is your favorite in the West, plus 270. Colorado plus 390. Edmonton plus 450. The Jets at 5-1. All their numbers are gone. I had to take it at them to start the season at 22-1. Vegas is at 5-1. The Kings at 13-1 for them to win the West. We're just not getting good numbers on these teams anymore for the most part. I think you just hold off until the playoffs, unless you want to take one of these teams on the outside looking in, like a Red Wings at 150-1 now, or Columbus, as mentioned, 130-1. Montreal, that would be a nice one right now, 210-1 for them. A Montreal Jets parlay, let's see, $5 pays $6,325 right now. Canadians are good. The Canadians are doing what the Jets, what the Blue Jackets should be doing, and that's winning these tough physical games. So beware of Montreal here. 210-1 odds is interesting. That even might be worth a 20 spot to win $4,200 straight up here as we move along. I'm going to have to ponder on that this evening. All right. Looks like we're going to be free and clear. No nephew Dave. We'll get him back on Thursday. In fact, we'll get him back for a Bet to the Future tomorrow night. All right, let's go ahead and wrap things up. This is What the Puck is Going On. This is the Deep End Broadcasting Network, broadcasting live from our Deep End studios in the lovely Virginia Beach, Virginia, the United States of America. Everyone have a good night. Enjoy your hockey, and happy St. Patrick's Day. Good luck.